Michael Jackson is coming back. Not through a concert, not through a new song, but through a film that is already creating quiet conversations across the internet. A biopic called Michael. At first glance, it seems like just another Hollywood project. A tribute, a story, a celebration of the king of pop. But the moment people looked closer, something about this project started to feel different. Because the person chosen to play Michael Jackson is not just an actor, he's family. Jaafar Jackson, his nephew. And that one decision has completely changed how people are looking at this film. Because this isn't just casting anymore. This is personal. And when something becomes personal, people start asking deeper questions. For years, Michael Jackson has remained one of the most talked about figures in the world. Not just because of his music, not just because of his performances, but because of everything surrounding his life. The mystery, the fame, the controversy, the legacy. Even today, long after his passing, his name hasn't faded. In fact, it keeps coming back. On social media, in reaction videos, in debates that never seem to end. And now, with this biopic, that conversation is about to get louder. But here's where things get interesting. Most biopics follow a familiar pattern. Find an actor, train them, make them resemble the person. But this time, they didn't go outside. They went inside the family. Jaafar Jackson isn't just someone who studied Michael Jackson. He grew up around him. He watched him, observed him, felt his presence in real life. And that changes everything. Because now the question isn't just, can he act? The real question is, what does he know that the world doesn't? According to interviews, Jaafar never originally planned to become an actor. He wasn't chasing Hollywood. He wasn't trying to step into Michael's shadow. In fact, when he first heard about the biopic, his reaction was simple curiosity. Who would play Michael Jackson? That's what he wondered. Not realizing that eventually the answer would be him. What followed wasn't instant success. There was no shortcut, no automatic selection just because of his last name. Instead, it became a long process. Training, coaching, testing. A journey that lasted nearly 2 years. Every movement had to be studied.
Hi GQ, I'm Jaafar Jackson, and I'm here to talk about how I prepared for the role of Michael Jackson, the Michael biopic. At that time, I was creating music, I was producing a lot, so I didn't have any thoughts of, let me play him. It was more so, that's gonna be interesting. I wonder where they're gonna take that. I got a call from Graham King. He asked if I ever acted before, and I told him no. I've never acted, I never wanted to, but I'm a big fan of films, and I more so want to do film scores. One thing led to the other, and next thing we're having lunch in person, and he's telling me about the story of how he wants to tell Michael's story, and at this time there was no studio attached, there was no director attached. It was very early on. The script wasn't ready yet. He asked, would you be open to acting? Or if I got you with a coach, would you be willing to try it? You might hate it, you might love it. I was like, I need to really think about it before just diving into it. I'm someone who really wants to pull something. No, I don't want to just try it just for fun. If I go into it, I really want to commit to it. So I told him, let me think about it for a couple of days. I didn't really hear back for some time. So I said, you know what? I'm just gonna text him a voice note of me speaking as Michael to the best of my ability at that time, and also singing a song or two. I sang a Peter Pan song that Michael, he never sang it officially, but it was more so off the record. I sang it like a lullaby to him, and also just speaking to him in Michael's speaking voice.
Every expression had to be understood, because playing Michael Jackson isn't just about looking like him. It's about becoming something people already believe is almost impossible. And that's where the pressure begins. Because Michael Jackson isn't just a person, he's a standard, a benchmark, a level of performance that even today's biggest artists struggle to match. The moonwalk, the spins, the timing. Everything about him was precise, intentional, almost unreal. And here's the part most people don't think about. It's not just about copying those moves. It's about convincing an audience that they're real again, that what they're watching isn't an imitation, but a return. when Jaafar first saw himself fully transformed. Hair, makeup, costume. He described it as emotional. Not exciting, not glamorous. Emotional. Because for a moment, it didn't feel like acting. It felt like something else, something closer, something personal. And this is where the film takes a different direction. Because from the beginning, the goal wasn't just to show the king of pop. It was to show Michael, the human side, the side that most people never really understood. According to those involved in the project, Michael Jackson is often seen as one of the most misunderstood figures in entertainment history. People know the performances, they know the fame, but they don't always know the cause behind it. The pressure, the expectations, the environment he grew up in. From a very young age, his life wasn't normal. No ordinary childhood, no simple moments. Everything was replaced with discipline, work, practice, perfection, and that foundation shaped everything that came after.
It's natural, it's a flow, all together.
This role was incredibly physically demanding. Initially started with Rich and Tone seeing if I had it in me to pull off the performances. And I know we had about 20 days of a boot camp, basically. And within those 20 days, we were breaking down the Billie Jean performance from Motown 25. And I was so self-conscious at that point. I was so, I guess, doubtful in the sense that I knew I couldn't get it down in that time frame. I knew I needed more than 20 days. But within that time, I really learned a lot about myself, that even though I wasn't pulling off a lot of the moves or knowing the meaning behind it, I still tried it again and again, over and over, until I got it right. Or even if I didn't get it right, I was still trying it. And I think once I had that time afterwards, after those 20 days, taking that time to Havenhurst and setting up mirrors in the same dancing room Michael would train in, I think that really was a spiritual journey for me, just to be in that same energy, to sit in that space, but also just to dance for hours and hours every day and look at it as a full-time job. It was life-changing for me to have that experience, even for my body, to not be, go from not dancing or having some rhythm, but then to doing full-on Michael Jackson moves, but performing. And it was all for myself at the moment. I had no audience. It was just me in some mirrors and in a room, and just grinding it out until I felt like I can fool myself in the mirror. I was working on Billie Jean. I was solely focused on that, I would say, for about close to a year, because that was the most challenging for me. And then I started to dance to other songs. Then I started to get comfortable to try and, freestyle to other songs, but in Michael's vocabulary of his movements. And that became really fun. And the moonwalk, as a kid, I always used to try and do it, but it's different when you're doing it as a kid to when then you're trying to do it just like Michael and look just like him doing it. The moonwalk is very challenging for many different reasons. The flooring is important, the shoes you're wearing, and that was something new for me, is being able to dance in loafers and getting used to that.
A new movie about Michael Jackson is giving audiences a front row seat to the king of pop as never seen before. And fun fact, Jaafar Jackson, who plays Michael in the film, is the late singer's nephew. Let's take a look.
Just have all these songs in my head. Just gotta get them out.
You wanna stay alive, better do what you can, so beat it. And joining us now is one of the film's executive producers, the eldest son of Michael Jackson, Prince Michael Jackson. Prince, so great to have you on the show. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Happy to be here.
So your dad, having been such a public figure, an icon really, a lot is out there about him already. What can people expect to learn about the king of pop in this film that they don't already know?
I think one of the most magical things about this film is, for those of us that were lucky enough to grow up with the Jackson 5 and the Jacksons, hopefully it will reinstigate that feeling of nostalgia and fun and family. And for those of us like myself and younger, that
the making of this film was very personal and tough at times. It was also Jaafar's first acting gig. And what was the process like in telling your dad's story?
First and foremost, authenticity is the biggest challenge in any story, and especially my father having such an incredible life that spans 5 decades of him being at the top of his career. We wanted to approach it from a way that audience until I got to see it in person.
Would you be able to share one of those things that maybe you were learning for the first time about your father?
Well, I had always heard from my dad and from the family how much work it took to get to where they are and where they were. And for me, hearing those stories, seeing them and seeing it emulated in my cousin Jaafar and him taking all of that work and dedication and time really put it into perspective. You know, this was not easy to achieve, and to the levels that they achieved and how much work and dedication went in. I'm proud of you. You're going to do great, but I need to take a little step outside.
The film is expected to explore that journey, from a small home in Gary, Indiana, to the biggest stages in the world, but more importantly, the transformation in between. And this is where audience curiosity starts to build, because when a story is told by outsiders, it feels like interpretation. But when it's told by someone from inside the family, it feels like access to moments, to memories, to details that were never publicly seen. And whether intentional or not, that creates a sense of authenticity that most biopics don't have. But at the same time, it also raises questions, because whenever a story is this close to the source, people begin to wonder how much of it will be truth and how much of it will be protection. Because Michael Jackson's life wasn't simple. It wasn't just success and applause. There were controversies, debates, opinions that still divide people today. And this is where the conversation becomes complicated. Some people see this film as a chance to understand him better. Others see it as a carefully controlled narrative, a version of the story that may highlight certain things while leaving others out. And the internet doesn't ignore things like this. It reacts, it questions, it compares, it debates. Because in today's world, it's not just about what is shown, it's about what is missing. And that's exactly what keeps Michael Jackson relevant, even now, even years later. Because his story never feels complete. There's always another layer, another perspective, another question. And this film is about to add one more. At the same time, there's another angle people are noticing: Jaafar's performance itself. Early clips and discussions suggest something unexpected. Not just resemblance, but presence. The way he moves, the way he carries himself, the energy. It doesn't feel like a modern recreation. It feels familiar. And that's a powerful thing. Because in the world of content today, people are constantly comparing. Old versus new, real versus recreated. And when something feels close enough to blur that line, it grabs attention instantly. That's why reaction videos are already building anticipation. Because audiences aren't just watching, they're analyzing, frame by frame, movement by movement, trying to decide for themselves. Is this convincing? Or is it just another performance? And here's the reality. No matter how good it is, it will be judged. Because that's what happens when you recreate something iconic. You don't just meet expectations, you face them. And Michael Jackson's expectations are on a completely different level. But maybe that's exactly why this film exists. Not just to celebrate, but to revisit, to re-examine, to give a new generation a version of the story, while reminding older audiences of what once was. Because whether people agree or disagree, they will watch. They will talk. They will react. And in today's digital world, that's what keeps something alive. So the real question isn't, will the film be successful? The real question is, what will it change? Will it reshape how people see Michael Jackson? Will it answer long-standing questions? Or will it create even more? Because one thing is certain, this isn't just a movie, it's a moment. A moment where past meets present, where memory meets interpretation, where legacy meets curiosity. And at the center of it all is someone who grew up watching it from the inside, now stepping forward to show it to the world. Maybe that's why this feels different. Because this time, it's not just a story being told. It's a story being revisited by someone who was always closer than we realized. And whether people believe it or question it, One thing is clear. Michael Jackson isn't disappearing from the conversation anytime soon, because some legacies don't fade, they evolve. And if you enjoy deep celebrity stories, hidden details, and conversations that go beyond the headlines, make sure to subscribe and be part of the journey. Follow Roundtable Celebrity for more. Because here, we don't just watch the story, we break it down.